enemy stole.
Well, look, we have an incredible afternoon scheduled for you, and it's going to be really special. Thank you for prioritizing this venue. And you know what? You are on a college campus. You've been hit with a lot of information. So I think the best way to start our time is with a bit of a quiz, a pop quiz. Here we go, pop quiz, pop quiz. Need your attention. Okay, when was APU founded? Okay, you looked at the banners behind me. You better get that one right. All right? All right, what was that? Okay, here's the next one. Here's the next question. What are APU's cornerstones? Christ, scholarship, community. Some of you got 3 out of 4. That's all right. That's good. That's good. Christ, scholarship, community service. Okay, does anybody know APU's first president? That's a tough one. APU's inaugural president. Anybody want to take a guess? Her name was Mary Hill. Mary Hill. Mary Hill. Okay, now you got it. All right, does anybody know APU's beloved current president? Adam Morris. Adam Morris. Yes, indeed. And President Morris and Faith Morris are here with us this afternoon. You'll be able to hear from them as they serve on a panel of esteemed faculty and staff who are going to share some practical wisdom with you as they navigated the journey of being a parent of a collegiate student. So that's going to be really, really special. So let me share with you real quickly what we have in store for you. You're going to hear from Dr. Barton, and we want to highlight ways that you can continue to be engaged as parents and family members of your student. Remember, your student is a part of this community, but we deem you as a part of this community as well. You are part of the village, and Ruben reminded us of that. Thanks for sharing that, Ruben. Okay, that's really important. And then we're going to have a panel discussion that involves many of our faculty staff, led by our director, Alex O. of Campus Life. By the way, this whole operation, it takes a whole bunch of people, but the person who stewards it and kind of leads it is Alex O. Can we give Alex O a huge round of applause for his leadership? Appreciate you, Alex. And then, listen, the safety of your student is absolutely important to us. And so you'll have an opportunity to hear from our competent executive director of campus safety, Paul Dennis, and he'll give you important information for you to be in the know of our commitment to your student safety. And so that will be really, really special. But first, we start off with a segment on academic faith integration, Bible classes here at APU. Christian formation in the classroom is going to be facilitated by our provost, Dr. Anita Hink, and then also Dr. Brian Matthews. That's going to be a really special presentation, so please be attentive. Let's start our time with prayer, though, before we welcome them up. Please bow with me. God, thank you so much for this beautiful, beautiful day. We thank you for your grace, your mercy. God, thank you for your faithfulness in our lives, in the lives of our new students, the families who are present. God, it's my hope that your spirit will move in reassuring ways to remind them that you are present. And God, please bless them with peace and confidence to know that their student is in your care. God, we are thankful for this time that we have together. We don't take it for granted, and we dedicate it to you. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen. Will you help me welcome to the stage Doctors Anita Hink and Brian Matthews.
It was good to be with you at events together through yesterday. And while we spent some time together at Move In and Academic Connect and yesterday's evening sessions, our faculty have been busy finalizing preparations for teaching beginning Monday of this next week. As you know, APU is fully committed to faith integration across all courses, and we continue to provide faculty support for that, so that whatever the class, they learn both the best of that in academics and also relate it to the Christian faith. But when we begin thinking about the whole of the undergraduate curriculum, we want to talk with you a bit on that today. Many of your students know the major they intend to focus on, and still others will be undeclared. And as we learned from Dr. Hall's data last evening, nationwide, a majority of students may explore another major at some point. Secret is, I change my major lots of times, so it can work out okay sometimes. But what's common to all APU undergraduates, whether freshmen or transfer students, whatever their major, is a common core of courses that we call general education, or GE. So when you hear GE, this does not mean General Electric. We have a deep commitment that students need a broad academic foundation in the arts, humanities, sciences, and Bible theology. And so all students, whatever their major, will take some common courses together. The general education, or Common Core as it's also sometimes called, is actually a nationwide phenomenon, but we, of course, do it distinctly for APU students. It's philosophically similar between universities, but the unique elements here include both our commitment to what's needed from the liberal arts, as well as our Bible and theology commitment. General education has to be periodically updated to keep it current, even though a lot of it is rooted in disciplines that have long history. So in 2023-24, in my first year as provost, we set the audacious goal of redesigning the entire general education curriculum. And last year, the faculty spent much of their time rewriting courses and writing new courses. And I'm really so proud of the work of our faculty, with special emphasis on rewriting the Bible and theological foundation courses as it relates to the Christian formation of our students. Central to this work was the excellent leadership of Dr. Bryant Matthews, who serves as the Director of General Education. And a few days ago on this stage, he received the Uncommon Citizen Award for faculty for the depth of his work and the breadth of his work. And so we are very proud of him. And so I'm giving my time to him for him to share an overview of this updated curriculum so you can understand what your student will be experiencing through GE across their time at APU. Bryant?
Well, thank you, Provost Hank, and good afternoon, everyone. Let me join Provost Hank in extending a warm welcome to APU. We love this time of year as we get to meet our new students and to help them feel at home in our community. I want to begin by telling you why I'm here at APU. I'm here because I believe that our world today desperately needs faithful, wise, skilled young people who are empowered by God to be beacons of hope and love in the communities they go on to serve. Let me repeat that. I'm here because I believe our world today desperately needs faithful, wise, skilled young people who are empowered by God to be beacons of hope and love in the communities they go on to serve. And I know I can speak for my faculty and staff colleagues that they're here for the same reason. They're here because they feel called to invest in the next generation of students, to provide transformative learning experiences that will help students to find their higher calling and be equipped for eternal impact. Each student who walks on this campus has a unique story. They come with their own hopes, fears, longings, and joys, and with their own gifts, interests, and perspectives. They will pursue excellence in a variety of different kinds of study. Some will be engineers and computer scientists, others will be doctors or nurses, and others will be journalists or teachers or social workers. But ultimately, an APU education isn't just about what you'll do. It's about who you're becoming. It's about experiencing a journey of transformation that prepares you to live with wisdom and kindness and conviction and purpose. A journey that prepares you to lead and to serve. To be what Jesus called salt and light. At your job, yes, but also in your family and in your neighborhood, in your church, and in all the places that God calls you to. Now, don't get me wrong, your students will receive rigorous academic training at APU, and will be equipped with skills they need to launch a successful career. We care greatly about what they will do. But we believe success isn't just about getting a job. It's about who you are when you get there. How do you treat the people around you? What kind of coworker are you? What kinds of values guide the decisions that you make? How do you use the influence you have at work and in the community to serve others? And like I said a moment ago, how do you live with wisdom and kindness and conviction and purpose? We want Southern California and far beyond to continue to be filled with APU graduates who don't just go with the flow, but who stand out as beacons of hope and love because they know what they're living for, and they know who they're living for. We want to prepare graduates who serve as the hands and feet of Christ in a world that needs to be transformed by Christ's love. Now let me pause for a moment and say, APU opens our arms wide to students at all different stages of their spiritual journeys. Some of our students have just a little bit of familiarity with the Bible and with the Christian faith. Other students read the Bible regularly, or have been involved deeply in a church community, or feel a strong personal loyalty to Jesus. No matter where your students are in their journey, we're happy they're here. We welcome them to come as they are, to jump into our community, and to know that they belong here and are truly valued. And we trust and pray they'll feel at home here, and they'll grow more and more in wisdom and kindness and conviction and purpose in our midst. So, how do we cultivate that kind of growth here at APU? Ultimately, we believe the greatest asset that we can provide students to help them become people of character and purpose is a deep understanding of the long biblical story of God's ongoing and persistent work in the world to bring hope and healing and redemption because of his steadfast love for us. Once we understand God's own mission to bring hope and healing and renewal to his creation and his people, then we can find our own story within his story. We can live our own lives as characters in this great drama of God's mission to make all things new. And we can experience God shaping us to be more like his son Jesus and calling us to live a life of purpose and meaningful service. Your students will hear this story of God's redemptive mission in chapel, in this room, but they won't only hear it in chapel. Because we believe that faith and learning belong together, they'll hear this story in the classroom too, in a myriad of ways. In the classroom, they'll be invited to wrestle with some big questions. What does the story of the Bible, and ultimately of Jesus, mean for my growth as a person, across all different dimensions, spiritually, emotionally, socially, physically, academically, vocationally, and so on? What should I spend my life passionately pursuing? What does a life of true flourishing look like for me and for those around me? How can I find the good, the true, and the beautiful? What does this story of God's redemptive mission mean for some of the challenges that society faces today? What does it mean for my future? What does it mean for my life decisions? What kinds of values will I live out in the workplace and in my profession? Students will be able to wrestle with the implications of the biblical story and Christian faith in all of their classes, but the place they'll encounter it most intensely is in the general education program. As Dr. Hank mentioned, we're launching a brand new general education program at APU this fall, developed by our faculty over the past 2 years. The new program is called the APU Core, Pathways to Flourishing. The APU Core is the name because we believe it will be at the core of students' academic and spiritual growth during their time at APU. And the subtitle, Pathways to Flourishing, emphasizes that flourishing of people and relationships and communities and societies and all of God's creation is the theme that runs through the courses again and again. The APU Core has 3 parts, 3 groups of required courses. The first is called Pursuing Wisdom. That's your Bible, theology, humanities courses. The second is called Preparing to Serve, with a lot of practical skill building and that sort of thing, exposure to sciences and natural sciences. And the third is called Living Out God's Love. The program all starts with a class called Cornerstones, shaped around APU's 4 cornerstones, and you already had a quiz about what those might be: Christ, scholarship, community, and service. Altogether, we had 8 brand new courses as part of this program that we'll be launching this year for the APU core. Our faculty have poured our hearts into this new curriculum, and we're so excited to see it come to life in classrooms this fall with your students. Now, let me point out, we actually have 2 wonderful general education programs at APU. We've had an amazing honors college program for many years, and that program continues on as strong as ever. And now we have the new APU core as well, which is what I've been describing here so far. While these 2 general education options do have different structures and emphases, they embody the same values and vision. And I love sitting down with my honors college colleagues and just dreaming about our students and how they can be formed through their time here. Both programs pursue academic excellence, character development, and spiritual formation. Your student really can't go wrong with whichever one of these they've chosen. So whether in the honors college or in the APU core or in our many major programs, faith and learning go together naturally at APU. Faith motivates and informs our learning, and learning strengthens and deepens our faith. When your student's in a classroom with a faculty member, or here in chapel with a campus pastor, or on a practice field with a coach, or in a meeting with a student life staff member, they'll be spending time with someone who is committed to their growth as a person, someone who is investing and helping them to embrace their higher calling and to prepare to make an eternal impact in the world. So thank you so much for entrusting your students to us. We are grateful for the privilege of spending time with them, and we will keep them in our prayers. For our next segment, I am pleased to introduce Dr. Andrew Barton, Vice President for Advancement.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me add my welcome. We keep the temperature cool in here for the after lunch session. So, well, I'd just love to welcome each and every one of you, whether you're a parent or a family member. I think you've heard it said many times. You're a critical part of your student success, and I think the vast majority of us that will be on stage today either have children at college, at APU, or other colleges, or have graduated. So we know how it feels to sit here. We also recognize that it's that shift of role as a parent when your student comes here. So whether it's your first child, or second, or third. Actually, we had about 45 families this year for incoming students that have either a parent or grandparent as an APU alum. Actually, one family this morning has their student today was the 11th person in their family to come to APU. So whether you, this is your first time, second, or 11th time at APU, we're grateful that you're here. So I do want to give you permission to pull out your phones, because I'm not sure if you're going to get some of these slides, and there's some good websites. So my role in advancement leading advancement is a fewfold. First is to raise money. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you for money, but it's an important activity to raise funds for scholarships and for campus improvements and investing in students' opportunities to study here and abroad. So grateful to do that. But also a part of my responsibility is alumni and how we engage the external family. So you are part of the APU family, so this includes you. So I do want to say, make sure you follow the APU Facebook pages, Instagram pages. I'm not on TikTok, but I assume we have a TikTok somewhere, but that might just be for enrollment. But definitely Facebook and Instagram, so you can not only understand and connect with what's going on here at APU, but also future events is really important. So make sure you've got this website saved somewhere on your phone or on your computer, apu.edu families. This one page is hopefully going to be a really good resource for you. It's got a bunch of links to calendars, events, resources for departments, things that you might need to know or need to, advise your student. So when you get that call from your student that says, I don't know about this, or where can I find this? Again, rather than you try to solve the problem, you can help direct them, and that page will be a wonderful opportunity. You'll also be getting at least monthly emails from APU with timely activities or things you should know, tips and deadlines. The next page I'd love you to take a picture of, there's a QR code there, is Azusa Praise. Soon after President Morris came, now 3 years ago, he challenged the community to, I think it was actually from the stage, maybe the opening weekend, he invited to people, if you wanted to pray for APU, whether it's every day or periodically, he asked people to sign up and send him an email. He got lots of emails, so now we've got a QR code and a web page. So we would love as family members for you to join us and join more than 800 people that pray for APU every day. So if you sign up for APU Praise, you're not going to get spam. You're going to get a monthly email from the president with a few prayer points to see how you can be part of praying for your child, or for your family member, and APU. The next web page I'd love you to bookmark as a family member is apu.edu/calendar. On that website, on that web page, you can find the calendars to so many things. So clearly your student is going to be here as an important part of the community, but there are many opportunities for you to engage, whether it be athletics, events, theater events, concerts. The academic calendar is there. So obviously, if you're living out of state, getting back to some of those events is going to be challenging. But I do ask you to keep connected with that calendar page. There are two items that I would love to draw your attention to. Homecoming, October 24th and 25th. I think that's around 9 weeks away. That would be a great time if you want to come back and connect with your student before they finish up for the semester. So we're going to have a homecoming chapel for students, faculty and staff, alumni and family members. We're going to lunch with the president over that weekend. We're having a meetup with a bunch of the athletic coaches. Anastasia is going to be our theater performance here, which is going to be wonderful. We've got a family carnival, men's and women's soccer games. So I'd really encourage you to come back, put that in your calendar for homecoming. And those of you that may know, we have a tradition that goes back to the 1950s, dinner rally, where we celebrate the mission of APU, raise money for scholarships. That's typically in October, but this year, Celebrate Christmas, which is our big annual Christmas concert by our School of Music, has historically happened in Pasadena. Well, this year it's coming back to campus in this room, which is awesome. This campus gets dressed up for Christmas, and so on Saturday, December 6th, we're going to bring together dinner rally and Celebrate Christmas all in one evening program. So that's going to be wonderful. So there are a few web pages to stay connected with. I'd love to see you back on campus, and good luck, family members. This is a great time, a great season in your life and in the life of your student. It's going to be different, but we've got you. We're so pleased that they're here. Can I introduce our host for the weekend to come up next, Alex O, the Director of Campus Life. Thank you, Alex, for your leadership. Welcome to APU, everyone.
Thank you. All right, I'm also going to invite our panel to come up. We're going to have a conversation here up on the stage. And again, my name is Alex O, and I serve as the Director of Campus Life, and it really has been such a pleasure hosting you as a part of Welcome Weekend. And the purpose really of our conversation this afternoon really is to create a space of affirmation, of empathy, of care and support for you all as you process the season of transition. And we're hopeful that we can share some practical wisdom that the panelists will share, just as best practices. We're not experts by any means, but just to be able to hear what are some experiences that our panelists have shared, as well as maybe some things that they've kind of learned from their experiences. That's kind of the two main goals of our conversation this afternoon. And I have two children of my own, Lucy and Luke. Lucy's in junior high. She's a sixth grader, and my son Luke is a fourth grader. So I'm really here to learn from our panelists this afternoon about what's to come when it's time for them to go to college. So what I would love for the panelists to do is if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, If you can share your name, your role at APU, and a little bit about your children as parents of current and former college students. So maybe we can start with Paul.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to APU. My name is Paul Dennis, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director of Campus Safety here at APU. I've served in that role for the last 7 years. It's entering into my 8th year. I have 3 kids, met my lovely wife here many years ago, and we have 3 children. My oldest graduated from another university across town that is a significant rival to this institution. And he's done very well, so we navigated that journey. He graduated in 2020. My middle daughter is now 26, and she chose a great school, Azusa Pacific University, and received her, yes, give it up for
there you go.
APU, got her degree in cinematic arts, and so she graduated a couple years ago. And then my 21-year-old spent a couple of years at Mount Sac, and she's transferring into APU here in the fall as a business major. So, yeah, it's been quite the college journey in the Dennis house.
My name is Matt Browning, and I am the Director of Commuter Life here at the university. The university is very committed to our commuter students. They're unique. There's an art and a science to caring for commuters, and many parents of commuters I met with yesterday. I have 2 daughters. It's all women for me. It's 2 daughters. In fact, fathers of daughters I can't see, but any fathers of daughters out there, we'll have a special prayer room back here during the service tomorrow. I've got sleeping bags and Kleenex, and we've got kind of a new tradition where we will just be in the fetal position back there as long as it takes to get through the morning. But as the others shared, I have 2 daughters. I'm so thankful that they were able to be a part of this community. One just moved. My daughter and her husband and our 18-month-old grandson moved to China last week, and so they learned a foundation here for making a difference for the kingdom, and we've been so thankful ever since.
Yeah, that's good.
Hello, everyone. My name is Louise Huang. I currently serve as a Vice Provost for Academic Services. We have 2 children. Our firstborn, Evelyn, she actually just graduated from APU in May, double majoring in English, honors humanities, and with a pre-law minor. Our younger one is going to start his 2nd year at UC Riverside. So we were very content being empty nesters, but it was only 9 short months, and now one of the birds flew home and is now preparing for graduate school, and it's been a joy to watch them grow.
Hello, I am Faith. I'm Adam's wife, and it's a privilege to be here. And as you've heard my husband share, we are here because we are called to be here, and there really is no other place that we would want to be right now. So we have 4 kids. Ours are a little bit older, but we've got a 28-year-old, 29-year-old, 31-year-old, and 33-year-old. 2 of the older are boys, and then our younger are girls. And yes, I would echo having girls in college is definitely daughters, a different experience than boys. But anyways, they're all married. Our kids all went to a school that is actually down the road here a little bit, and some met their spouses there. All our kids and their spouses attended a Christian university, and so that has been a blessing.
And my name is Adam Morris, and I go with this girl right here. And, when we're all together now with kids and grandkids, there's 17 of us around the table. And when I think about the influence that Christian higher education has had on our own children and their spouses, it's just been a game changer. And so super glad that your kids are here.
Awesome. Yeah, let's give a round of applause for our panelists this afternoon. So the first question, so I can imagine in this space we have families who are experiencing an array of emotions, ranging from joy and sadness, especially as they anticipate their departure tomorrow after our worship service. So as a way to develop a space of presence and empathy, would you share some personal reflections on navigating your students' transitions? how did you kind of manage or handle the emotions that maybe for some feels overwhelming?
You know, I didn't handle it very well, would be the short answer. You know, four kids, our kids are close in age, super tight family. The picture that comes to my mind, we were vacationing in the Grand Canyon. We were, I think, driving back. We were in a Chevy Suburban. I'm in the driver's seat. We've been going all day. I look in the rearview mirror and I catch my son, who's about to go to college. Everybody's asleep, his head's against the window, and I'm like, this is it. He's going off to college, and I just remember like a tear coming down my cheek. It's just feeling like, oh, what I worked so hard to create and cultivate as a dad, like the equilibrium was about to change. And to be honest with you, I didn't like it. And I remember at some point in that journey, you know, going to an opening weekend, and I remember my focus at the time had a lot more to do with what I was losing and really wasn't focused on all that my son was gaining. And I realized, like, I need to have a major, like, attitude adjustment, like Adam, snap out of it. And I remember my college years, they were awesome. I came from Connecticut. I was in school here in LA. Faith and I met on a blind date. I mean, life was awesome. I thought college was just like the best. And so, yeah, I mean, that would be, I think, one piece of advice would just, you know, don't let your own emotions rob your student of the joy of what they're about to embark on, this journey that is just beginning for them. Like, these are years that are not repeated. These are spectacular years in the life of a student, you know, beginning college. And so, you know, I would say I was a little better by child number 2 and number 3. Hopefully by the 4th time our kid went to college, it was, you know, hey, we'll see ya. But yeah, it was tough. Yeah, it's an emotional weekend. It is.
Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that.
I would say something similar. It was just hard. I cried walking by the empty room for the first while, and it was difficult. And I challenge you to let that be for you. That it's not wrong. It is a significant event, and we all process differently. I don't talk very much about mine, you know, and so I had to learn to process a little bit more. I would say this to you, though, and I didn't know this. This is what's fascinating about hindsight, right? I didn't know this at the time, but I would remind you that it's not over. Your relationship with your student is not over. I had this sense in my head that they're gone now, they've moved out, I've done everything I can, I'll never be able to help them again, I won't see them much, and so on. And that is just not true. I have a closer relationship. I am so blessed. If I've done one thing right in my life, I'm so close to both of my daughters. We talk almost every day, talk or text, and I had this shift that it's just a different type of relationship. They'll come to me for different questions and different things, but if you, and I know you probably won't feel it now, right now something is going to end starting tomorrow, but I just encourage you, I'll be praying for you to remind yourself that it's not over. It's not this static event that's done. It's just going to be a different relationship. And I'm here to tell you that I think it can be a better relationship if you will let it be.
Amen.
Well, I will share that I was probably on the other end of the spectrum, filled with excitement. And it wasn't excitement for me, for selfish reasons. It was truly the fact that higher education and going to college was a conversation that existed in my house from a very, very young age for my kids. I did not have that conversation in my home with my parents, but one of my commitments to myself when I became a parent was to create pathways for my kids that weren't necessarily there for me. So we had that conversation at a very early age. My son was the first one to go to college, and at about 6 years old, he picked up a basketball and just really loved it. And part of our conversation about college was sports and basketball. And to watch him in the backyard shooting hoops and practicing his dribbling and doing all of those things with the goal of utilizing that basketball to create a pathway to an education. And when that day happened, when he received a full tuition scholarship from Biola University, it was just a wonderful thing to see his hard work come to fruition. So I was filled with joy and excitement and enthusiasm for my son when he went off to college. And the same with my daughter when she picked up a pen and started drawing and creating animated stories and things like that at a young age. And to learn that APU, right around the time that she was coming here, was going to be adding an animation program to the cinematic arts. It's like God's timing for everything that was happening in the Dennis house was amazing. So I totally understand President Morris's perspective and the other perspectives that have been shared. But for me, it truly has been an exciting journey. One done, two done, and the third one coming in. It's just an exciting time to see their goals and their aspirations come into life.
So for me, it was only 4 years ago I was sitting where you are, going through moving weekends, and because my husband and I both work here at APU for many years, we have been part of Welcome Weekend. So we have seen it, we know what is going to happen, and to a point in which I felt like I was ready. I was ready, even though I was a mom, to drop off and to help my daughter move in and all that. And it all went well. You know, we had really a great time in the different opportunities and events until we actually live very close to campus. We can walk home if we want to. So that night we went home when it was, you know, when our daughter was finally living in the dorm. And like what Matt said, I walked by her room and it was an empty room. And all along I thought I was so ready and I knew everything. And the tears came unexpectedly. So I just want to encourage you, if you are feeling very excited, and when you get home, it's a little different. It's okay. So I have learned that I need to embrace this new season in my life, that I also need friends who can support me and walk with me and understand what I'm going through. So I started looking for those friends, and I think that's how I managed the next season. And then until a few years later, our son also started going to college, and then we truly enter a different season. As empty nesters, as I told you, we are no longer empty nested because one of the birds flew home. So I think I have learned in this journey that as our kids grow, I also need to grow. I also need to recognize that I need friends and I also need support. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So last night, Dr. Hall shared the following sentiment: stay connected, but give me space too. So would you speak to maybe some best practices of establishing a rhythm that supports the autonomy of your student while also remaining connected? And I do want to kind of highlight specifically for Matt as the director of commuter life, you know, some of our commuter students may be living with family as a part of their college experience, and so maybe that separation might be a bit of a different experience than a residential students. And so Matt, if you can speak to the commuter experience and others that want to chime in on that.
The numbers are still in. We'll do the math until dropout and so on, but it's going to be 45, 46% of our undergraduate students will be commuters. That's a significant population. Commuter students are unique in that they are living in two worlds. It is very difficult. We understand, we study student development theory, and we understand the idea of self-authorship as students are beginning to kind of, they have been taught everything by somebody, they're beginning to live into their own world. Commuter students are a bit challenging because they're still living in two worlds. They will still see, they are still living at home in most cases, they will be with you and around you. You are still going to want to have that same type of relationship with them. They are going to be looking for new relationships. We have world-class faculty and staff here at the university that they are going to be learning from, that they are going to be interested in, that they are going to be asking questions of, and so on. So I challenge you to the best you can, and I know it's not easy. I talked to hundreds of commuters over the years, and if I could challenge you to not make them feel guilty for not being around you as much. Many of you maybe have a family dinner on Sunday nights or whatever that would be, or some traditions. Those are going to change a little bit. And to the degree that you can let those go so that you don't create some guilt almost, if you will, on their part, because they will feel this. Commuter students feel like they're in two worlds. They still have friends at home. They still have family, of course. Maybe they have church relationships, but they desperately want to be a part of what's happening on campus. And you want them to. We understand theory of involvement, and the more they are involved on campus, we're having a job on campus, the more likely they are to persist and thrive. So I guess the best thing that I could offer is do your best to find some challenge and support. Nevitt Sanford is a student developmentalist, and he talks about this idea of challenge and support. Too much challenge and no growth, or too much challenge and students have a difficult time. Too much support and they don't grow as much. So find that balance if you can in how you encourage them to get involved in campus. But I'll leave it at this. Do your best to try not to make them feel guilty for wanting to be a part of something. You're going to want them around a lot, and they're going to want some of that, but they also want, and I contend need, to begin to engage on campus. So find that challenge for them. I promise you that we have a web of care for them. We work very, very hard. A lot of colleagues on this campus, we work very hard to pay attention to commuters and their unique needs. If you will trust us, we will take care of them. I would ask you to encourage them to be as involved as much as they can. They have a hard time breaking away from home, yet they want to, but it's a challenge. Help them do that to the best that you can.
Thank you.
I'd say, especially for the students that are here on campus, if you don't hear from them for a few days, shoot them a text. Let them know you love them, you're praying for them. I think one of the things that we've observed, even with our own kids, that we have to remember, we go home, our lives resume as normal. They are experiencing a major shift in their lives. They're overwhelmed, to be honest, in good ways and in some hard ways. They're having to manage their classes, probably feeling some pressure for grades. Some of them have part-time jobs. For the students that live on campus, it is a huge shift to live in a dorm. As nice as they are here, they're wonderful, but have a roommate. So it's important to keep in mind it's not that they're walking away from their relationship with their mom or dad or both, or their siblings. They're just almost preoccupied because they have to be. So our encouragement would be, if you live close enough, be intentional in setting up a time every other week or every third week to grab coffee or a meal with them, meet them somewhere, and have that intentional one-on-one time. If you live far away, of course, it probably would be FaceTiming or even on the phone. But even as Matt was saying, if your student lives at home, and they will often rebound back at home. We had some that came back, and that was really special when that happened too after college. But be intentional if they live at home to spend some time, go out, take them for coffee, because that is how your relationship with them will just continue to grow and will actually change.
Yeah, I would often look for informal ways to get caught up on what was going on in their lives. And so, maybe it was a holiday and our kids were home, and I'd, run down to the store or run to Home Depot and ask one of my boys, hey, do you want to go for a quick drive? I've got to go pick something up. And it's these sort of informal ways to ask questions. So so tell me, how are you doing? Right, and just to introduce sort of the less confrontational, less probing questions about how's it really going, but it's a more informal way for me to just sort of open up a conversation and see where the conversation goes. And so I would ask a lot of questions. We wanted to make sure that our kids knew that our home was always home for them. And we wanted our home to also be home for their friends. And so it would be common when our kids were in college for them to have a lot of their friends over at our house. And so if you're local, you might be intentional in letting your student know that, hey, this coming weekend, we're going to throw some food on the barbecue or in the smoker and invite your friends to come on over. And we would find a lot of students from out of the area that would end up landing at our house, longing for a home-cooked meal and looking for free laundry. That was the sort of carrot that got them to our house. But it was a great way for us to not only get caught up on how our students were doing, our own kids, but their circle of friends. And maybe just to piggyback, one more quick thought is, if you are somewhat local, I would just say monitor how often your kids do come home. It's easy for students who live on campus, who are local, somewhat local, to be here, Monday through, let's say, lunchtime on Friday, and then every weekend they're gone. They're back home. In some cases, that's necessary. They're involved in church and other things. But to part of, I think, Matt, your point, there is so much that happens here throughout the week and on the weekend. We just strongly encourage students to engage in the life of the university. And so if your student is home every single weekend, a month from now, 6 weeks from now, you might just ask some questions about, well, what's going on campus this weekend? And our encouragement would be to just encourage them to engage in the life of the university. There's just so much stuff going on here every weekend, and part of what we're wanting them to do is to grow in community with one another.
Yeah. Luis or Paul, do you want to share anything?
I'm just thinking about something practical. When both my kids came home from college, I know that they might not have time to buy certain things, maybe, dental floss, toothpaste, those kind of things. And I always have a bag by the door so that they can just grab it on the way out. And I was sneaking a note here and there, something small, saying that you got this, we're praying for you, love you, those kind of things. And we do text a lot, I think, because this is just the generation, they need these short communication. So kind of just remind them that we're there for them and we're here for them as needed. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I shared earlier how excited I was, and I meant that. I truly was excited. However, when the day came and they left and went off to live on campus, it was different at home. And finding that rhythm and that tempo and that feeling, it took a minute. So I would just share that is something you're going to feel when you leave this weekend and go home. Something's going to feel different, but just trust in your patience. And you will find the rhythm of your student and how you can integrate your connectivity with them. But that is a challenge, right? You're going to want to pick up the phone and call 3 or 4 times a week and try to fight that urge. Let it come to you rather than you trying to force it to happen. Let it come to you, and I assure you it will.
Yeah. As y'all were sharing, a friend of mine who recently sent their child off to college was sharing with me this idea of parenthood and how it evolves over time. And she was sharing 3 C's. So it begins as a caregiver, and then it transforms into becoming a coach, and then it transforms into becoming a consultant. And that's kind of stayed with me. Like I mentioned, I don't have children in college, but I feel like as I'm kind of imagining kind of how I would parent my children throughout kind of different stages, I know that it'll eventually become kind of maybe hopefully a consultant sort of relationship. And so I feel like I kind of hear that as you all are sharing. And so really appreciate your wisdom there. So the next question, the college experience is filled with many sacred moments that facilitate the holistic development of students. Maybe some experiences that produce remarkable joy, while others can be very rigorous, creating frustration and anxiety. So curious to hear, how did you practically coach your student through seasons of challenge, whether it be academically, relationally, and spiritually? And also, if you wouldn't mind including how maybe that changed, as they were navigating college. And so did your approach change during their first year of college, maybe their second year, maybe as they were upperclassmen and preparing for graduation? How did that kind of coaching relationship sort of evolve over time?
Yeah, some of that for us was, we're so used to when our kids are living with us, elementary, junior high, high school, like I'm sort of wired to like fix things, right? So they have a problem, it's easy for me to just jump right in and like, here are the solutions. And so when they're in college, it's resisting that natural tendency. My kids went to the same college where I worked, so that made it even more difficult because they would come to me with an issue, and it would be easy for me to just pick up the phone and call so-and-so like 3 offices down and say, why did this happen or why did that happen? And so it's just resisting that natural temptation that we're used to pre-college of solving problems, and instead, in that coaching / consulting role, is to begin asking them questions. Well, have you thought about this? Have you talked to your faculty member? Have you gone to the registrar's office? And so your natural instinct, and Dr. Hall mentioned this last night, your natural instinct might be when your student calls home and they're facing something that needs to be addressed, your natural instinct as a parent might be to pick up the phone and call, or to send an email. And I always say, call or email Keith Hall. But that might be your natural instinct, but I would just say, begin this sort of transition season of empowering them to begin solving things on their own. And you can do that by just asking questions. Certainly if through all of a process that you and your student are going through, you need to talk to a live body here at APU, call us, obviously. But I think to the second part of your question, I think our parenting evolved. As our students our kids were entering into early adulthood, you're sort of releasing more and more line as they're becoming mature adults, young adults. And so, I found us worrying less and trusting God more. I think we were, very focused when our first went to college. And we relaxed as number 2 went, number 3 went, number 4 went. Our parenting, we sort of released a bit because now we knew the drill of what it's like to have a student in college. We knew the cadence and, sort of the rhythms of the academic year flow. And so, for me, and I think for us, part of it was, just relax, I mean, we've got about 800 faculty and staff who are here.
Yeah.
And we are here for you and your student. That's like why we're here. That's why we get up and go to work every day, to serve your students. And so I think of it as a passing of the baton, right? You've been raising your children. They've been watching you. If you're plugged into a church, you have shared some of that responsibility with your youth pastor and others at your church. So you've passed some of that baton to your church, and they've been sort of helping raise your children. You're now passing part of that baton to us, and we're coming alongside the great work that you've done, that your churches have done, and we're saying we want to be part of now this next leg of the journey. And we've been waiting for you, we've been praying for you, and we're totally ready for you. And so you're dropping your students off here, but you're leaving them with us. I often say, right, thank you for entrusting your students to us. That's what you're doing. You're entrusting them to us, and we are here to serve them. And so being on this, side of life with older kids and being in higher ed, I wish I knew that when my kids were going to college. I think I would have been a little more relaxed and a little more confident and maybe even a little bit more ready for them to begin the journey.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Others?
So I have a story to share related to that. First semester when our daughter was here at APU, the Friday before finals week, we got a phone call that she was in the emergency room. We had no information, that was all, and it was during COVID. So we couldn't go in with her, and we were just, having all these messages. Turned out that she had terrible migraines. She never had even headaches. We don't know what was the onset, but we rushed to the ER. It was, I think, midnight, and we were not allowed to go in. It was, again, telephone charade, one person after another. Finally got to hear that while she was really not well, she has to be hospitalized, and then we can stay until we had further notice. Long story short, she came home, I think, the next day, and then I think we went back to urgent care. Anyways, it was back and forth. It was very clear by the second, third day that she could not go into final exam. And she was very concerned, and she had many papers and exams to prepare for and all that. Now, being the faculty member here at APU, I could have easily go to my colleagues and ask for, and tell them about what happened and kind of help solve the problem, because that's my natural instinct. I would want to help, I would want to take care of things. But I resisted all that, and I coached Evie through writing email, even though she was really not well. She couldn't barely open her eyes. I think I gave her ideas what to write and how to write those emails, and she wrote them one by one, and I knew the faculty, so I knew they would respond well, but I still coached her to write those emails and care for her, and just not knowing what's going to happen. So I want to reassure you, we really have a web of care here. So it was not only the faculty responding very quickly and very empathetically, it was also others in the counseling center and health center, and just coming in to help Evie finish that semester off. No, she did not take any of her finals as scheduled. No, she did not finish her final papers as scheduled. She was given extensions, and she was able, when she was feeling better, to finish all those on time. And like I said, she graduated in May, so it was okay, even though it was quite scary for the parents. But just to know that I got to experience that, both as a mom and also as a faculty here. And I'm not saying that I'm hoping that that will happen to you, but should something like that happen, you're going to be okay.
I wish that I would have been better at this. This is, again, hindsight, where I can maybe now share with you what I wished I would have done more. But we understand that there's a self-fulfilling prophecy around self-inclusion sometimes. And your student, maybe in their own words, will say something along the lines of, I really don't think I'm ever going to belong here. I'm really struggling. I can't make friends. Try to shift that narrative. When they might be saying that, however they're saying it, shift that to, you know what if this place becomes some of the best memories you'll ever have in your life? You'll look back at some of the relationships that you built here, and you will have lifelong friends. So when you can, when appropriate, not in a badgering way, but when you can, help them shift that language, that self-fulfilling prophecy around social inclusion. It'll be something like, boy, I don't think I'm ever going to have friends. I'm having a hard time. Help them see the other side of that. And when you repeat that, we understand kind of how the mind works. When you repeat that some, it really can kind of shift that self-fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely.
I really don't have too much to add to what's already been said, other than I can tell you from firsthand personal experience as an 18-year-old being a freshman here at APU and going through a move-in weekend just like this and navigating 4.5 years of the college experience. The care that I received 40 years ago when I did that is even stronger today as far as the web of care here at APU. It was mentioned that, I think Matt said it, about developing the best memories that you've had. I just had an opportunity to speak with your students before coming over here, and I shared with them that amongst the years of my life, probably the best 4 years of my life were the 4 years I spent on this campus. And I'm not saying that because I work here now and it's move-in weekend, and I genuinely mean the best 4 years of my life were the experiences that I had right here on this campus, from coming here move-in weekend, knowing nobody, being scared to death, and student RAs, resident advisors. My first friend at APU is an RA, right? And treated me like a big brother. And then from there, it was like that weekend, I came here with no friends. By the end of the weekend, I had about 20. And by the end of the week, I had to start turning people away. No, I'm just kidding. But just the care from just other students, from faculty, from staff, it's God is amazing how he works in a God-centered institution. And I've been blessed that all of my kids have had the opportunity to experience that. And I'm thankful and appreciative that your students will have an opportunity to be influenced by APU.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we bring our conversation to a close, thank you all so much for sharing everything that you've shared thus far. Would you briefly share one culminating piece of advice or encouragement for the families who are now a part of our APU community?
Well, in my house, we kind of kept it simple, and we just broke it down to the 3 S's. And S number 1 is remind them to be safe. All right, remind them to be safe in everything that they do, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that after this. But the other one is let them know that you support them. All right, you're not going to do everything for them, but let them know you support them. Right? There's space here at APU for them to trip and fall. There's a great medical staff. There's great faculty members, great staff members. I guarantee you, if they trip and fall, we'll pick them up. We'll put some, peroxide on there. They're going to be just fine. All right? So, but let them know you support them. And then the last S in the Dennis house was give them their space. All right? I worked here on campus when my middle daughter was here, and she lived on campus. And like President Morris, who had a similar experience, believe it or not, in the 4 years that she was here, I probably only bumped into her on campus 3 or 4 times. And it's not that we were intentionally trying to avoid each other. It's just that she was doing her thing and I was doing mine. And even though we're in the same place, she had her space. So those were the 3 S's in the Dennis house that worked. Remind them to be safe, let them know you support them, and give them their space.
I would encourage you to encourage your student to get plugged into the local church. And so if you are from out of the area, that's especially true for you. Those of you who are local, assuming that your students are plugged in perhaps at your home church. But if you're here from out of the area, APU is not the church. I say that often. And just because your student is here at a Christ-centered university, they'll be in this room twice a week. They'll be on the other campus with chapel options twice a week. So we have chapel 4 times a week here. Students often go 3 times. They've got 18 units of undergraduate Bible. And so just because you're in Bible classes at a Christian university and you go to chapel every week does not mean that you don't also need to be plugged into the local church. The short time that I've been here, I'm just starting year number 4, I've spent a lot of time with local pastors. And we have got fabulous churches in the surrounding area. There are college youth groups and weekly Bible studies that happen in this community, the surrounding community, through some of the churches in the area here. The energy and flavor that APU students bring to the local church is just fabulous. In fact, pastors are thrilled to know that opening weekend is here. We've got churches that will be on campus, on our East Campus on September 5th. We'll have a whole bunch of them here, and it'll be an opportunity if you're not familiar with the surrounding area or not familiar with the churches in the area, your students will have an opportunity to connect with the local churches here who are coming on campus hoping that your student will land in their congregation. So. I often say we're not the church police. Like, we don't go through the dorms on Sunday morning, where they talk about, Bedside Baptist, where Pastor Sheets speaks on the Great Comforter. Like, we don't want our kids, sleeping in the dorms on Sunday morning. We'd love them to be plugged into the local church. So, if you're out of the area, ask your student in a few weeks, hey, have you found a church? And if the answer is no, we've got folks in our student development area that, and campus pastors that would readily connect them with the right people and even work out transportation to get your student to a church in the area. So that would be my advice.
Thank you.
And I would say, speaking as a mom, maybe more to moms than to dads here, but I unfortunately was a chronic worrier when my kids were in college, and the piece of advice I would give is be careful of how much you use your locator services, whether it's Find My Friends or others. I would have overused them. Adam was not a worrier, I was. And so I, crawl into bed at night, my day's over, 9:30, 10 at night, look on my phone, and, as I alluded to before, their schedules are different than ours. And so their days are busy, classes and probably meeting with faculty, some working, and so nighttime for college students That's often the time when their day starts, really, in essence. And so it would be really disconcerting for me to look, especially daughters. It was harder with my daughters. Their night might have been starting at 10 o'clock, and the school they went to, it was a straight shot to the beach, 30, 40 minutes, and they were there. And so just be really careful. You'll drive yourself crazy and get really anxious. Find a look once in a while, but it really is entrusting them, to the Lord. And then just, again, as Paul was saying, safety, just encourage them. Always go out in a group. That's just guys or girls. And then just, again, after tomorrow is through, I can promise you'll have a sense of relief. You really will. And make your goodbye, especially for those who are leaving students here, make it, intentional. Let them know you love them. Let them know you're proud of them. And then after chapel tomorrow, if you're leaving, just leave and let them start their journey.
If I may give my advice in two parts, I'm going to put my faculty hat on. Encourage your students to know their faculty. Even when they have no questions, go to office hour, get to know them. I think the faculty here all want to really invest into our students' lives. I think you'll find that to be very unique on our campus. As a parent, fellow parent, I really appreciated that analogy. I think up to 12th grade in high school, as a mom, I have front row seat of my kids' life. So as I transition into a coach or maybe a consultant, I have to get used to on the sidelines. And then the view is a little different, but it doesn't have to be unbearable. I think it's change that I learned to embrace. So I want to encourage you to take a different view into what God has created your student, your child to be, and be able to appreciate and praise God for the upcoming growth and transformation. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a new season that you are going to really enjoy seeing as things unfold.
I would challenge you to trust them. You've done everything you can to raise them well. I believe it is no accident that your student is at this place, at this time in their lives and in your lives, in the providence of God, and begin to just assume the best for them. I was the opposite, right? Oh, she's going to mess this up, and oh, she's going to... But begin to assume the best, and they'll see that and they'll feel that from you. And I challenge you to value the seed rather than the bouquet. Too much time in my life I have waited to see the answer or the outcome or what I'm hoping might be, but there's something about the watering process. It's biblical, frankly, I believe. There's something about the process and enjoying that along the way. Value the seed rather than the bouquet to the degree that you can.
Awesome. Well, can we show some appreciation for our panelists this afternoon? I trust that was helpful, and I hope you were able to take away some nuggets of wisdom from our panelists and just some best practices as you navigate this transition with your students. To close out our time, I'm actually going to have our Executive Director of Campus Safety, Paul Dennis, give his presentation to close out our time this afternoon. So, Paul. Yes, that would be great.
All right. Let's see. Well, again, good afternoon. I just want to share with you just a little bit about my journey. Obviously, I shared my name as Paul Dennis. I've served in the role of Executive Director of Campus Safety for the last 7 years. But prior to coming here in this role, I spent 27 years with the City of Azusa Police Department. And it's amazing how God has worked in my life, because I came here at 18 years old as a student athlete and didn't really know what my plan was as it relates to what profession I would get into. I knew that I just loved running, and APU allowed me to come here and compete and get an education. So I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. I remember my senior year, or going into my junior year actually, my coach at the time asked me, "Hey Paul, what do you want to do professionally?" And I said, "Well, I think maybe I want to be a counselor and do it in one of the state prisons." Long story short, after I graduated, the city of Azusa happened to be hiring a jailer. I thought I could go work at the jail and get some experience there and then maybe transition to being a counselor in one of the prisons. And after I spent a year in the jail, I came to realize, I don't think I want to do that. But along that time there, I got to know a lot of the officers, and I started going out on ride-alongs, and I recognized, hey, I think this is something that I could do. And fast forward 27 years after working a bunch of different assignments and being fortunate enough to promote to the rank of captain, I retired in 2018. And this is where God comes into play in that, 27 years prior, I'm over here at APU figuring out what am I going to do, and I graduate, and God sends me 3 blocks west of here to Azusa PD, all right? And I spent 27 years learning the city of Azusa and the streets and what's going on here and developing relationships, et cetera. And then I retire, and I ask God, now what? I'm too young to sit in a rocking chair and do nothing. And guess what God does in his great sense of humor? He says, pack your bags, son, and go 3 blocks east, right where you started, and do my work there. And no kidding, all the way to my office is in the same building that used to be the men's dorm. I lived in that same building, and my office is back in that same building. I share that story because I said I didn't know what my purpose was when I got here to APU. I didn't know what God had in store for me. But it's vividly clear to me now what my purpose is. God brought me to the city of Azusa over 40 years ago, educated me at APU, sent me out into this community to learn it from a crime prevention perspective, and then asked me to come back to his institution where he's preparing disciples to go out into the world and to keep it safe. So that's my mission, that's my vision, that's my purpose, that's why I'm here at APU. So with that, let me just share with you a bit about campus safety. So I'm seeing it on my screen, but I'm not, there it is, okay. So we are located over on our West Campus. So we're over here on East Campus right now, but our offices are over on West Campus. We're located right by our residences, by Trinity Hall, Engstrom Hall, Adams Hall. We're in close proximity to those. And then just a little bit further, but not too much further, is Shire, right? So we're centrally located by our living area and also by our parking lots, right? There's 27 full-time campus safety members on my team. And I won't go through all the details, but you'll see different colors there on there. Our department is what's called a hybrid department, meaning that we have both armed personnel and unarmed personnel on our staff, all right? So the folks in red, the boxes you see in red, all of those folks except one of them, the admin manager, they're all armed personnel and also part of my leadership team. The folks in gray, that is SSO, that's a special service officer, those folks are also armed. In order to be armed here at APU, we require that you have gone through a California Post Certified Police Academy and were thoroughly vetted. That is well above and beyond minimum standards, right? I mean, you can go to some places and just have a guard card. Well, when I was asked to come to APU and kind of step into this role, God helped me navigate a 27-year law enforcement career safely because he planted in me that we don't subscribe to minimum standards, right? We go above and beyond, and we work hard. So all of those folks in gray and in red have gone through a law enforcement academy and are trained to respond to a variety of incidents. The blue boxes are our CSOs. Those are our unarmed personnel that also support keeping our campus safe on patrol out there. And then the folks in the brown boxes are our dispatchers and our support personnel. So there's 27 full-time staff members in the Department of Campus Safety. We also have student employees. There's a lot of different job opportunities across our campus for your students. And campus safety, I'll be biased, is one of the best ones. I won't say the, but one of the best ones. So if your student is looking for employment opportunities on campus, please encourage them to take a look at our shop as well. So some of the services that we offer or that we do, campus safety is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I don't let my people sleep. Just kidding, I do. They get to go home. But we're always open. There's always someone there, all right? And there's always someone on patrol. We do patrols on foot. We do them in cars. We do them on bicycles. We do them solo. We do them paired up. So we're on both campuses, both East and West campuses. Some of you may have already had an opportunity to see, or if not ride, on the trolley that navigates between our East and West campus. That usually runs early in the morning and runs up into the evening, but after the trolley stops, campus safety is still available to serve as a safety escort to get your students between campus if necessary. Now, I remind the students that we're not an Uber or a Lyft, all right? If it's just because I don't feel like walking back to campus, well, I don't know if that will meet the standard for us to come and pick you up, right? But if there's ever a safety concern, for some reason our student isn't feeling safe, they all know that they can call us anytime and we will come over there and give them an escort, whether it's 10 o'clock at night, after midnight, whatever it may be. We run a couple of different programs. I would encourage you, if you have a female student that's here right now, we offer what's called a RAD, Rape, Aggression, Defense, Self-Defense class, where we teach our students, our female students, just some basic safety concepts. God forbid they found themselves in a situation where they did have to defend themselves. We give them some basic concepts of punching, kicking, striking, self-defense type of things, so that at least they have a couple of tools in their toolbox that they can draw from. God forbid they found themselves in a situation like that. So we offer that class once in the fall semester and again in the spring semester. And we usually have about 25 to 30 students that sign up for it, and it's covered over 3 or 4 different sessions, 3 or 4 hour blocks at a time. And the reviews that we get from the students have been absolutely great. They have a lot of fun with it, and they get a free meal out of it too. So, hey, why wouldn't they come, right? They won't come out of that class with a black belt in, Taekwondo or ready to, sign up for a UFC fight or anything like that. But I assure you, they will come out feeling a bit more confident than when they started. So that's our RAD classes, our self-defense program. I mentioned student employment opportunities. There are several folks within my team that have, long law enforcement careers, and oftentimes some of our criminal justice students will sign up and be what's called community service representatives, or CSRs, that work with us. And it gives them a great opportunity to be mentored by some of the folks on my team, right, that get an opportunity to kind of talk to them about the law enforcement profession and the different career pathways that exist within law enforcement. So if your student happens to be interested in something like that, please, again, point them in our direction. We'd love to pour into them and help them prepare for their next steps. We also do different partnerships across our university as far as training is concerned, right? Whether it's preparing our student alpha leaders to go out into the communities to do outreach programs. I had an opportunity to speak with them last week, just giving them some tips on how to navigate public transportation, how to ensure your safety when you are doing outreach out in the community. Talked a little bit about distance and being able to keep your distance and recognizing obstacles and hazards and things like that. So we do that regularly across our campus as well. And then all of our parking services are handled out of my office. So if your student is bringing a car to campus, that car does have to be registered within our parking services department. If it's not registered, they're going to find out with a warning, And then if it's still not registered, they're going to find out with a citation. And unfortunately, sometimes you guys might be the last ones to find out when it appears on a bill. So just remind them, when you let them know they're bringing their car to campus, that they do have to follow the rules. And the first one is that it has to be registered. And that, we do enforce that, because obviously vehicle accountability on a college campus is really, really important. We need to know what cars belong here and which ones don't. So if you could encourage your students to please make sure they register their cars, that would be truly appreciated. So another area of campus safety is that one of the things that I want to do, and I've always wanted to do since I've been here, is our job description is to ensure the safety of our community, right? But I challenge myself every year, and I challenge my team every year on what else can we do outside of the scope of keeping safe, can we do to contribute to the success of our students, right? I shared with you that amongst my, greatest times in my life were the 4 years that I spent on this campus. And again, I truly, truly mean that. And by being engaged with our students, I think that's one way we can contribute to their success. So each one of our living areas has a campus safety officer that serves as that liaison for that area, all right? Their objective is to kind of be embedded in that particular space and get to know that residence hall and those students and become a familiar face to them, so that they have someone that they're comfortable in sharing an observation or something that they may have seen that was unusual. It's not intimidating or difficult for them to pass that information on to us, because they've interacted with us. So each one of our living spaces has what's called a residence life liaison that is spends time in those living spaces, goes to events that may be being held in those living spaces, and is having interactions with them. So please, on that note, encourage your students to get to know who that person is assigned to their area. Here's the big one. California is a beautiful place. How many of you are from out of state? Raise your hand if you're from out of state. Okay. Yeah, California is a beautiful place. The sun shines, we got great weather, the beach is close by, but every now and then the ground shakes, right? These things called earthquakes. And sometimes we get these fires that spark up, right? Well, the time to be prepared for those things is not in the midst of it, it's beforehand. And thankfully, APU really takes a proactive approach to emergency preparation, whether it's with our critical incident response team or our CERT team. But the way we get information out to your students in the event of a fire or an earthquake or any critical emergency information we need to give them, we utilize a system called Everbridge, all right? And Everbridge is a mass communication system, very, very important. We have to get information out to our community as timely as we can when something happens, so that folks can make good, informed decisions to keep themselves safe. And so we use Everbridge to do that. Everbridge will send them a text message. If they don't respond to that, it will call them. If they don't respond to that, it'll send them an email, and it keeps firing this out at you until you respond to it. Right? So our students will know that when they get an Everbridge communication, they have to acknowledge receiving that Everbridge communication. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, can I get that information? Can I sign up for that? I want to get it. Unfortunately, it's not for your family. But everything that we put out on Everbridge, if you subscribe to our social media platforms, and if you bookmark apu.edu, every time we send out a critical emergency notification like that, there's a yellow banner that you will find on our webpage, and it has that information on it. So you too can get that information more or less real time. It's just not going to be through the Everbridge system. Does that make sense? Okay. Another system we use is our Wayland public address system. There are a couple of sirens on West Campus, and there's a couple over on East Campus. And if we had an incident where we had to notify our folks that are outdoors, a siren will go off sounding an alarm, followed up with a public address communication letting folks know what that emergency is that's taking place. We have social media platforms specifically for campus safety where you can follow us and get some information. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and also on X. On this slide here, you will see a yellow triangle sign, all right? I need a big favor from each of you. Over the weekend, make sure that you just ask your student, hey, do you know where your evacuation zone is for your living space? Okay? Every one of our evacuation zones on East Campus and on West Campus are delineated by one of those triangular yellow signs with a number on it. Okay? They should all be familiar, if they're living on campus, be familiar with where their evacuation zone is. And then that one should be easier for them to remember. But then as they're navigating their classrooms, make sure that you're just remind them to, hey, take note of where the yellow signs are around campus. Those are the evacuation zones. There's a system here that's called Safe APU, and it is an app that we introduced here probably about 5 years ago. And this concept came to me, it was by one of our students who came into my office one day and said, hey, a friend of mine goes to such and such school and they use this app to keep them safe. And I said, hey, that sounds really good. So did some homework, looked into it, and just through the involvement and the connectivity and the participation of students, we adopted Safe APU 5 or 6 years ago, and this thing has been truly a great resource. Just quickly, every one of your students should be uploading this app, and within it, it has a bunch of safety tools, right? Things like a mobile blue light. If you walk around our campus, you will see these blue lights with basically a phone, right? And prior to cell phones and all of that, that's how you would go grab to call dispatch or whatever it may be. Well, we basically took those same concepts and put it on your phone. So now if they go into Safe APU and press on that emergency contacts red tab that you see there, all of the pre-programmed phone numbers would be there. If they need to contact Azusa PD, if they need to contact Glendora PD or the fire department, campus safety, it's all pre-programmed in there for them. One of my favorite pieces of this app is a function called Friend Walk. Friend Walk is something where if they can press Friend Walk and it will send a message to a friend of their choice. So let's say I'm over here on West Campus, and let's say Dr. Hall is my roommate, and it's 10 o'clock at night and it's dark, and I just want to let him know, hey, I don't feel like taking the trolley, I want to walk, but hey, can you monitor me? I'll press Friend Walk, it'll send a message to Dr. Hall. Dr. Hall will get the message. Not only will he get a message, he'll get an interactive blinking dot and a map, and it'll show him exactly where I'm at. And he can see me walking back to East Campus. And then let's say while I'm halfway there, something unusual is happening, I can press it again, and it will send a message to Dr. Hall telling him that I'm at the intersection of walk and don't walk, and he can come there and meet me, or he could call campus safety for me, or whatever it may be. It's just a great tool that's available to our students. Also in there is our information on emergency plans, right? What do I do in an earthquake? What do I do if there's a fire? What do I do, God forbid, if there is an active shooter? What is a lockdown? What is a shelter in place, all right? They're not the same thing. What's the difference between the two? All of that information is within Safe APU, so please, that's another favor that I ask of you. Ensure that your students have taken a moment to upload Safe APU into their phones. Our relationships and partnerships with local area police departments are really good. I know the folks at Azusa pretty well, so we have a tremendous relationship with them. Our campus safety department is not a sworn police department. We operate on what's called a memorandum of understanding with the while we're in uniform, our trained officers have powers of arrest, right? So we're not like a regular, typical security guard that has to just stand by and observe. We have the ability to go in and intercede and react to situations that happen on our campus. So, and that's all as a result of our collaboration and our support that we have from the Azusa Police Department, which we're very, very proud of and thankful for. Again, Training is something that's extremely important to us. We recognize that folks come from a variety of different places to come here to APU, and their connectivity or experiences with public safety or policing is different for everybody, and we don't take that for granted. And so we do a lot of training, and whether it's in implicit, and this isn't a full list of all the stuff that we train, but this is just a sample of some of the trainings that we do, whether it's implicit bias, de-escalation, crisis intervention, understand the federal mandates associated with the Clery Act, which requires us, whenever we have information about a crime that's happening on our campus or in the surrounding area of our campus that potentially could be a threat to our community, we have to let our students, our staff, and our faculty know, and we do that by way of what's called a timely warning. Right? So if you're ever visiting campus and you happen to see a timely warning, it's not necessarily indicative of something that our community is in harm's way about or anything like that. The federal law requires that if something happens in close proximity, that we share that information, which is a good thing, so that we can make good, informed decisions as it relates to our safety. And then the last thing I'll just share is exactly what I shared with your students before I came over here, is that a big part of campus safety is, like I said, to keep the community safe. But my prayer for every one of the students here is that they enjoy their time here, that they thrive while they're here, that when they are far removed from APU, they can reflect back on their experience here, and it's a positive one and one that they enjoyed. Like I said, I can't say it enough. I have so many great memories, and I'm going to go ahead and share one of them. And it's kind of funny. I think Dr. Hall and others have heard me say this, but I came here in 1986 as a track and field athlete, right? And my freshman year, we won a national championship, right? That was pretty cool. I was pretty excited about that. Can I get a little round of applause for that? Right, won a national championship. My sophomore year, we won a national championship again. That's twice in a row. Come on. All right. My junior year, my third year here, guess what happened? We won another national championship. That's three, right? What would have been my senior year, I had a stress fracture in my foot, so I had to redshirt. Guess what happened at national championship? They lost. I came back the next year after healing from my stress fracture, and guess what happened at nationals? We won a national championship. Now look, I'm not saying that one loss had anything to do with my absence, but I like telling this story because it's fun. You know what I mean? And that's just one of the fond memories that I have of being here at APU. And I'm telling you, your student is going to find their own fond story of their time here. And my prayer for them is that campus safety can just be a part and have an opportunity to contribute to that. So I want to thank you and welcome you to the APU community. My prayers for you, those of you that are flying home or driving back home, be safe, but don't worry about your loved one. They're going to be just fine, and God's got their back, so don't worry about it, all right? I'm going to turn it back over to Alex O.